Welcome to episode 12 of Cosmic Motion, an audio program where we discuss motion pictures good, bad, and ugly, and always interesting throughout the cinematic cosmos. We will be talking about many elements of this film and will likely spoil some aspects. Please watch the movie first, then come back, join our discussion. We're recording this on February 1st, 2025. I'm here with the space age Colin Dixon, a multimedia editor.
And I'm here with William Boudel, who is also from another world, and he is a director, a writer, Tor Johnson, all the Tors.
Oh, definitely Tor Johnson.
Wow.
This week, our guest is Adam Lima. Our Adam Lima is an American author and documentary filmmaker. His favorite subjects all incorporate monsters of one kind or another. Going where his interests lead him, Adam has been working in Hollywood for the last 40 years. He lives with his wife and youngest son on the west side of Los Angeles. When he is not locked in front of his computer, he can be found hiking in his beloved Angeles National Forest. Is he searching for Bigfoot up there? Not just getting away from it all? In short, the answer is yes. He has been known to multitask. Lately, he's been collecting ghost stories and paranormal encounters from his circle of friends. Welcome, Adam.
Thank you.
I also want to, full disclosure, Adam and I have worked on one or two things together. And
yes, we have.
Adam is an extremely talented visual effects artist. He has done some work on some of my horror shorts, and it's been to my advantage. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And those shorts were always top shelf, man.
Oh,
I'm not pulling your leg. I'm not brown nosing. I'm telling you that this is really solid. And that's such a good feeling because so much work goes into doing these visual effects, and then you watch the show and you're like, oh, you know, because all you did, I just had one shot, right?
Right.
Although, honestly, that's only maybe about 30% of the experience.
Okay.
You know, in reality, the majority of projects that I've worked on have been surprising. You know, I'm always like, oh my goodness, wow, whoa, this really came together, you know, and it's such a blessing to see that.
Well, Adam, you work on a lot of music videos as well.
Yes, I do.
And so you probably get to see the work of a lot of different styles of directors and artists. Obviously, they have a lot of creative input into what the videos are.
I've watched the evolution of the music videos. I got in around 2004 when the budgets were very, very big, and there would be teams of visual effects artists working on productions. And what we find today is the budgets, by and large, are about as small as they can be made for. Because
even for major artists?
Well, major artists are different. Major artists, like The Weeknd, let's say, his work always comes in with a very healthy budget. He always makes just spectacular videos they're thought-provoking. They're fascinating. I mean, it's not just some in-and-out club video. You know, his stuff is always like, what's going on? That's weird. Why are we here? What? Lord, what just happened to this poor guy? You know, like you get those from him quite a bit. You know, there are still big budget videos being made, definitely, but you know, the trend overall is to economize. You know, because the music business has evolved.
It sure has. It seems like the movie business is maybe going the way of the music business currently. I'm
sure it is. Yeah, there's really no question. I mean, it's trying to find its feet. You had the streaming come in, and you had suddenly that market almost overnight goes away, and then lots of legal battles and things. And so what's the result of all of these weird changes is that it's come to a point now where the money is coming in from concerts by and large. And so, you know, the regular seats are hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Right.
And then the amazing seats are thousands of dollars.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
especially for, you know, massive artists.
Yeah.
Generationally, that's where Gen Z is preferring to spend its disposable income. They've all decided they're never going to live in houses. And so it's all going to things like travel and concerts and things like that. But I mean, as far as your work is concerned, it begs the question, I mean, where are people even watching videos anymore, you know?
Well, they are. And what the video is, honestly, is a commercial for the music.
Sure.
And a commercial for the concert.
I see.
So
Yeah.
That's really what's going on. Will this music video get people hyped up to show up? You know?
Well, and also I'm encouraged by the fact that people want to go to concerts still, or maybe even more so than in past decades, and they want to see something that's authentic. They want to see the artist singing and performing and see the real thing. And sometimes those music videos gets them there. It's like, they want to see the magic on stage.
I'm just glad they still have the attention span for a concert, frankly.
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of peripheral activities that one can enjoy at a concert. But also the peripheral as far as like you're in the room and the artist is in the room and okay, maybe you're 1,000 feet away or maybe you're but that's them and you're there with them at that moment.
Yeah.
And that's something, it's not going to be erased. It's not going to be, that memory is going to be locked in you forever and ever. And I think that's like you were saying about Gen Z. I think that's exactly what they want. They want to get as close as they can.
Yeah.
I think I really do.
Well, let's get back to movies. I'm curious about when you were a youngin' and what inspired you as a child, what that you saw on the big screen, something that ignited your passion for movies.
Yeah, what pushed you into the business?
What the hey? So, okay, television was where I ran into these monsters and superheroes first. And when I was teeny tiny, there was the Superman Aquaman Hour of Power in the 1960s. And it was Filmation's animation. And I'm telling you, they hold up today. You probably shouldn't binge them because your head will explode. But in limited doses, you can understand that too. And I was 3. Okay. And I was knocked out of my chair. I just was so excited to see the adventures. And, it was crystal clear that this was a fantasy and, these guys weren't real and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that was such an exciting experience. And of course, from time to time, Superman would have to clobber a King Kong-sized ape, and Aquaman would battle a sea monster from time to time, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so when monster movies were on the TV, I was right next to my dad watching those, and I have just a gold-plated memory of sitting next to my father watching The Outer Limits.
Oh, wow.
And it's the episode The Galaxy Being, okay? And so in this episode, a dude who owns a radio station has sent the signal as deep into space as he can get it, okay? And he gets an answer from this guy in Andromeda. Now, the fellow in Andromeda is a lovely alien creature, and he's this glowing sort of, there's 2 eyes, but there's no mouth, no nose, there's no... It's a dude in a wetsuit, and then the film is reversed to negative.
Okay.
So all the highlights are black, and
Right.
and so everything's really... And then they threw a glow kind of diffusion filter on it, so it looks very alien. And of course, there's all kinds of static in front of... And somehow he's figured out how to put this boy on a TV screen. And what this show was... what this episode, I should say, was featuring is that, eventually one of these goofball DJs cranks up the power so strong that our friend from the Andromeda galaxy gets transported to Earth. And so now he's walking around on Earth, right? And spoiler alert. Anyway, and
people haven't had enough time to discover this, Adam. Okay,
They really, yeah.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, we got to be careful with the spoilers.
I know.
Come on.
1960s. Dadgummit.
60 years ago.
So every time the alien was walking around, he's looking at stuff, and but of course the music is telling you this is creepy and scary. And it was, especially for a little kid, He would turn to the camera and he would walk towards the camera and he would fill the screen, and it would just be so freaky. And I would hide myself into Dad, and he would hug me, and he would go, "Oh no, here he comes," so Dad was milking it too, and it was just so wonderful. So I bet you that's a moment like that was just pivotal, and suddenly that was the most fun I'd ever had with my dad. We were having a great time. We were watching a show together. There was a monster in it. I bet from that moment on, I couldn't get enough monsters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it was like that.
I happen to know that you were one of the foremost Godzilla experts, at least in my life, experts in my life. And I'm wondering, when did that love start? Which one did you see first?
First one I saw was Godzilla versus the Smog Monster in a theater in Houston, Texas, where the air conditioner was turned down so cold. Probably because the theater had an odor, I suspect. At least that's what Mom was theorizing. And the floor of this theater was really sticky. I mean, it wasn't kind of sticky. Yeah. It was really sticky.
Like there might be little creatures crawling across it every now and then.
I don't think they could make it across. I think they'd be glued down. I mean, it was unreal. But I watched Godzilla in that movie, and I was with my buddies at the time, and that was 1972, so that would have put me around 11 years old or so. Now, before then, I'd seen Godzilla on TV, and I'd seen Godzilla versus the Astro Monster, which in Texas on TV was called Monster Zero. And that's where Ghidorah is featured and Rodan is featured, and then Godzilla, of course. And
where does Ultraman fit into all of this?
Okay, I can tell you that story. I'm so glad you asked.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so glad you. Yes.
You've opened
Sit back.
Pandora's box.
Eiji Tsuburaya, who was the visual effects supervisor and architect of the all the Toho movies with visual effects, he was the guy who said, we're going to have to use dudes in suits to make to make these monster movies. Tsuburaya, his point of view was, hey, kids are watching these Godzilla movies. I don't want to see blood. I don't want to see horror. Matter of fact, they shot it in the Godzilla 1954. They shot a scene where Godzilla, when you get a first glimpse at him, he was chewing on a cow. He was eating a cow.
Nice.
And Tsuburaya was like, no, that's horrible. That's so graphic. Get rid of the cow. Now, Godzilla, because he was just really embraced by the children. And so Tsuburaya's like, look, we've got a hit. And here's what was huge at the time. This is 1961. And guess what was just this ridiculous runaway hit in Japan on television? Twilight Zone.
Oh.
Yeah, it was huge. So Tsuburaya goes to the TV station, but he goes, hey, let's do that ourselves. We'll do some funky mystery stories, These mysteries all boil down to giant monsters one way or the other. Now, this show was called Ultra Q, and the Q being question, the question being mystery, right? So this was the great mystery, right?
So not the winged serpent.
Correct. Yes. No, that's later. You gotta wait
Larry
for that.
Cohen.
I kid.
That's right. Ultra Q came out, and it was a hit. The TV show was ready for another series, and so they reached out to Tsuburaya, and they're like, "Okay, we want another one, but this time we want the same alien showing up, and we want him to be a good guy, and we want him to kick all these other monsters' asses." And so Tsuburaya's like, great, I love this.
I had no idea I had given you such a rich mythological trunk to unload.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No. I think
I
this
think
is awesome.
people forgot that this was about another film, but
No, well, hey, did we mention that Adam likes monsters, guys?
yeah,
right.
Adam likes monsters.
No, that's
for
awesome.
sure.
I think it's amazing. I mean, I love when I meet folks like Adam that just has like so much of this rattling in your brain, and it's just such an inspiration for other stuff, So
Absolutely.
just even hearing some of these names are just triggering all these garden paths that we could go down in our minds. I imagine.
Well, I can give you some hot recommends, but anyway, I don't know. We probably don't want to go down the Godzilla rabbit
Oh
hole.
no, we in fact one of these days we may have to. But
we could do another Godzilla episode.
And actually, time permitting, I do have a Godzilla question that I may end things with because I have a feeling it could take us down a whole avenue. But
yeah,
what are we here to discuss, Mr. Boudreaux?
We're here to discuss It Came from Outer Space.
Oh,
But actually, before we do that, I want to talk with Adam about a few things. First of all, I want to mention that Adam worked with Roger Corman early in his career. And that must have been a unique learning experience, I would imagine. Financially lucrative.
The
laugh means yes.
I would not accuse it of being financially lucrative. It paid the bills. And it was in a non-creative capacity. I was in the main office. I was working in international distribution, assisting the two absolutely wonderful ladies who were handling international for Roger at the time, and that was Pam Velastis and Pamela Abraham, and you could not find two better people to work for. I mean, they're just fantastic folks.
Did you know Frances Dowell?
No.
Sort of, I think she was one of the heads of development there, and very, very sweet lady who worked with him for many, many years.
I tell you what, his team was great.
Yeah.
It was great. I mean, he just, I don't want to say there was not an asshole among them, but I do want to say that I probably missed all the moments where the bad side of people came out, but these guys were really, really terrific folks. They were top shelf.
Were you there during Wynorski era?
I was.
Okay.
I was.
Okay.
And actually, no rocks to throw at Jim. I mean, None.
I know Jim, and he made quite a few films with Corman. I think he kind of felt like he was almost like a father figure.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Well, Jim had the wonderful, wonderful position where he could bring Roger an idea, and Roger trusted him to bring it in on budget and knew that he would get something that he could definitely market, and he knew that it would have all the elements that Roger wanted. There's a certain quota of TNA that Roger wanted. Right. Yeah, I mean, there was, that was explicit, explicitly stated.
I'm wondering if there's like an actual like a ratio that he's got behind him in his desk,
Well, I think the rule of thumb seemed to be at some point in your movie, probably in the first third or quarter, we will have a topless woman for whatever reason. We will have one. And the idea being that there is a large portion of our audience who will be waiting for the rest of the movie to have another topless reveal. So there was a strategy to it for sure.
Jonathan Demme to put it very simply, I think he said something like that you had to have a certain amount of violence, a certain amount of nudity, and then kind of a subtle social message, somewhere in there. Now that was during Demme's time. I don't know if it changed later.
No, I think that's about right. And one thing to note about Roger is that he did sincerely believe that promoting women was a good thing. Yeah. And he did it. And I mean, his assistants, they weren't ladies because he was a creepy guy. He was the opposite. He was very paternal. He was never creepy, ever. He was always like 100% professional and patient. He was very patient. I mean, he put up with me running into his office and, I'd ask for time and then I'd go in there and then I'd pitch him some stupid idea or pitch him some brilliant idea, right?
Yeah, let's go with that.
He was always very patient. He was, and I mean, here's the thing.
Well, Adam. So everybody has their Corman impersonation.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm not going to bomb you with mine, but 1989, I'm working in the main office at Concord and Michael Keaton's Batman drops.
Yes.
Okay. And my reaction to it is, what the hell? Where is Adam West? What's going on? Why did we do this? Where are we starting over? What's the deal?
Wait, your reaction is, where is Adam West?
Yeah. No, totally.
See, you and Joel Schumacher had the same reaction.
Yeah, right.
Probably did.
Where are the nipples?
Yeah, right. No nipples on the costumes this time. But anyway, I sat down with, at the time, I had a writing partner, Whitney Bain, and we cranked out a script called The Midnight Raven, and The Midnight Raven is about the Adam West Batman renamed The Midnight Raven, and he's retired. He's done. But this policeman who cannot pass the physical exam, but he's a brilliant policeman, but he just is not physically fit. He is desperate to fight crime.
Yes.
And he's appealing his case to the commissioner. And the commissioner basically says, you know what? I got an idea. And the commissioner pulls out a red phone from his drawer and he picks it up. And then we cut to behind the easy chair and we see Adam West's hand pick up the red phone. And then
this was proposed to Corman?
Yeah.
Did he like the idea? Or?
Well, he was like, well, who can you bring as the lead? And then
who can you bring?
Yeah, who can I bring as the lead?
He wanted you to go out and find the...
Yeah.
Oh,
well, you got the chutzpah to do this. Let's you have the chutzpah to do that. And so we went out trying the chutzpah. And oddly enough, Whitney knew a guy who knew Mark Hamill.
Oh.
And so we were, this is 1989, right? So Hamill was kind of over the Star Wars. He was beyond the Star Wars stuff. Yeah. He was titanically huge and he wasn't working.
And he was about to do Batman the Animated Series, right?
Yeah, that was cooking. So anyway, through this intermediary, we kept attempting to reach Mark Hamill and that did not work. Oh. But I don't think Hamill really wanted to go from 20th Century Fox, Lucasfilm to, New World Pictures. Why
not?
His loss.
Well, it's one of those things. I mean, you got to make your choices there.
Sure.
But, Roger put up with all that. He put up with me running in there with these ideas, these harebrained ideas. I mean, that wasn't the only one.
Well, all I want to do is listen to you talk about your days working at Corman. But we should also mention that you have a few projects that have just come out.
Oh, yeah.
And that are going to come out. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Bigfoot Evidence Oregon?
I do. So since... I'm going to make a short story long, but you've probably figured out that that's how I roll.
That's okay.
So in 2017, I finally gave up on trying to just make an indie movie 100% myself under my own steam, because I am so guilty of believing that I can take this really fun, cool concept and add every visual effect in the world to it and somehow make it myself. There are webisodes. If you look up Cosmic Fury webisodes on YouTube, you'll see my crash and burn attempt at that, where I get 12 episodes into a science fiction epic set in the 1950s future, with robots and rocket men and aliens and just all the stuff, and it collapsed under its own weight, right? Because I just did not have. I worked on that fucking thing for 12 years trying to get it in the can. I shot it in 1999. It was in NTSC. Just take that trend, project it across to 2017. And finally, 2017, my last harebrained idea, I run it by my wife, and she's like, oh. So I just said, okay, I'm going to stop trying to make these things. And so for the first time, Bill, since 1984, when I showed up in LA, I didn't have a movie that I was about to do. You know, it was like, and so I was truly, honest to God, adrift. One morning I woke up and the song playing through my head was Hey Travis Crabtree, which is the song that was in the movie Legend of Boggy Creek.
Ah, okay.
Which I had seen and been traumatized by in 1972. I thought that big hairy falcon monster was outside my window in Houston, Texas, because, you know, I didn't know geography very well, so I didn't realize Arkansas was quite a distance away, and that the middle of a city is not where you're going to find a big hairy monster. But I heard things crunching around outside my window, and I damn well did. But it certainly wasn't, you know, a Sasquatch.
It's probably a big rat.
I started looking at the internet to see if there was any. What's the deal? We got an internet now. There's got to be Bigfoot pictures galore. Everybody's got a phone in their pocket. What the hell? So I found William Jevning. Yeah. Okay. After going, what the hell? Will's a two-time witness, and so I fell into his podcast, and he's been going and going and going since 2017.
And he's like a Bigfoot investigator or something?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And so his podcast has all these witnesses. So I got in touch with him, and I said, this is an amazing story. I want to tell your story. So I started putting together little shorts and pieces of events that had happened in his life. There's a thing called the Rock Quarry Monster. You can look that up. It's on YouTube. It's on his channel. But there were freaky things going on in Washington at that time. Anyway, so Bigfoot Evidence Oregon is William Jevning, myself. It was a research trip that we made into the Willamette National Forest, and this was in 2022. And we did not have an encounter ourselves, but we found a lot of weird shit, and it's all there. There was some really weird audio stuff going on. So I edited that thing together, and I had help from my folks that were the music video guys over at Sunset Edit, where I work. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they consulted with me on the edit. That came out January of 2024.
Okay, and where can people see it?
You can see it on Tubi TV. It's also on YouTube on Stash Mysteries, streaming worldwide.
He'll make you a believer, folks.
There you go. And there's two other projects that Adam's working on: Bigfoot Southwest and Navajo Bigfoot.
Yes.
And those, when do you think those might be coming out?
Well, I'm going to be shooting reenactments. The edit's in good shape, but it just needs reenactments, man. It's all talking heads right now. Now, the Navajo don't want to go on camera. They don't like being interviewed. We did find just a handful who were cool being on camera, and our guide, Don Yazzie, he was good with being on camera. So we have a lot of interview footage with these guys. We did a lot of field work. We found weird stuff.
So just real briefly, I want to tell everybody that there are two books that Adam Lima has put out in 2024. One is Alice in Buglyland.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. And the other is The Mall of Cthulhu. And you talked about them having AI imagery.
Yes, which seems to have been a faux pas, apparently. But I would not have made them had I not gotten, high on my own supply of making AI images, you know. Mm-hmm. So,
But you did the writing.
The writing's all me. There's no AI in the writing. No. Sadly, The Mall of Cthulhu, there's another book called Mall of Cthulhu. I did not know that.
Wow.
And I asked Amazon, you got to look in the market to see I did a title check in Amazon, and Amazon was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So,
but yours is from 2024. Is the other one from 2024?
No, I think it's from 2012.
Okay.
And
that's old.
And I'm sure it's lovely. But then the fact that I've got AI artwork, I've hijacked this poor bastard's title. Poor Mall of Cthulhu, but it's really a lot of fun.
You know, it's kind of like it's yours is going to become the definitive version. You know, there's it's like there's 2 Suburbias, 2 Crashes, you know, but we only
Thank you.
2 Jack Frosts, but we only think of one.
So today we're talking about, we're gonna go into a discussion with Adam about It Came from Outer Space from 1953. But first, before we do that, Colin, can you tell us what's going on in this movie? What's the story?
I'll try to do a brief synopsis. Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
John Putnam, a romantic stargazer, and Ellen Fields, his aspiring fiance and, you know, the world's least qualified horticulturalists, are contemplating their future together one night when they catch the cosmos hurling a flaming meteor down in the desert. They see this through John's telescope. So along with Phoenix's most pitifully ineffectual crop duster, they investigate the crash site where John discovers that the meteor is in fact some sort of a spacecraft.
What?
And not only a spacecraft, but one that stares back at you through bubble vision.
Oh, yeah.
But before he can share his discovery, a rock slide buries the site and John. And, you know, John, being incapable of listening to practical advice from a woman, decides to share his discovery with the town. They all rightfully proceed to hurl taunts and abuses at him throughout the remainder of the film. But the being behind the bubble vision is indeed at large at the desert at this point, and John and Ellen putter around in desperate search for answers. And the town's slack-jawed yokels begin to be replaced by atonal doppelgangers. Finally, convinced by these strange events, the asshole sheriff starts to believe that John is telling the truth and decides to handle the situation with the good old-fashioned mob justice. John has his first frank encounter with the beings and learns that their purposes may be innocent. Whereupon ensues a struggle, one that could threaten the safety of his friends and loved ones, or worse, the fate of planet Earth.
Nice.
It's a lot
Nicely done.
Did I do
Well
it?
done. There's yeah.
I just done it?
I think so.
Woo!
There's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
We have visitors, and are they good? Are they bad? Do they want to take over the world? Are they just passing through? Who knows?
Now, we do it this way, by the way, folks, because this is not a show that just goes plot point by plot point. We're gonna jump around here.
Story by credit goes to one little-known author, Ray Bradbury. Just kidding. His treatment was apparently what made up most of the script, which is credited to Harry Essex. But actually, it seems that Bradbury wrote the majority of what wound up being the script itself.
Well, you can tell too, because if you've read Bradbury, you know his style, and I mean it's very distinctive and it's very human. See, that's the thing. Bradbury wasn't okay. He was writing science fiction, but he's writing people's people.
He is.
You know.
He is.
And
He's different than, not that Asimov is totally cold or anything, but there's a lot of fantasy in Bradbury. There's a lot of kind of lyrical poetry too. Like, like somebody, I was watching an interview with Bradbury and he was talking about this when he wrote this treatment. This is one of the first things he ever did for Hollywood.
So cool.
And he said he was learning about, how to have his hopes crushed,
Right.
basically.
Totally.
But he said a friend of his was watching it on television and called him and said that when he was watching it with his friend, he said, now you see that part where they're listening to the phone lines to see what that's Bradbury.
Yes. So
that
good.
kind of small, those small moments that are very human and poetic and
and they create the mood. They create the tone, right? Because it is a wonderful scene and so simple, they're just, and the audience never hears what's going on with those phone lines. Later in the movie, we see that, hey, every time that bubble vision shows up, we know those aliens are watching people. It's actually, if they're driving, it's from the point of view of the phone lines. So we know the aliens somehow or another can use those phone lines to spy on people. And so they're kind of hearing them. And something that the character Frank, who's the heavier lineman, the older guy, the boss.
Yeah. I like that guy. Sawyer.
I love him. Yes.
Joe Sawyer.
Yeah. The line that he has where he goes, and he's perfect too. I mean, he's
great.
He underlines the mystery of it all. He's like, very, very soft spoken, but he's got a lot of gravitas, but he's very soft spoken, and he's saying, maybe it's somebody listening to us. And then John is like, well, it stopped. And then, there's Joe going, well, that's the way it is sometimes. It's just like, it's like,
Yeah.
Here, listen. You hear it?
Yeah. Any idea what it is?
I don't know. Might be somebody up that way tapping the wires, or back that way listening to us like we're listening to him.
I wonder who it is.
I don't know. After you've been working out on the desert 15 years like I have, hear a lot of things. See a lot of things, too. Sun in the sky and the heat. All that sand out there with the rivers and lakes that aren't real at all. And sometimes you think that the wind gets in the wires and hums and listens and talks. Just like what we're hearing now. Still hear it?
No, it's gone.
Well, that's the way it is. Comes and goes. Had enough?
Yeah.
Me too.
Sometimes the mystery, it's over, you know.
When you're so right about the way they pay that off, Adam, because just if they had let you actually listen in on that, it probably would have ruined that moment.
Yeah.
But you being able to come to your own conclusions there is actually pretty effective.
It's just lovely.
That's one of the things that Bradbury was disappointed about in the film. He said they show the creatures, and he never wanted them to show the creatures, which I thought was interesting.
Well, and so I also want to specify that we keep saying bubble vision. I'm saying that because they actually achieved the effect with a tough liquid bubble that they blew over the lens,
Around
which
the
I've never
lens.
heard of. I've never heard of such a thing.
No, I've never heard of it or seen it. Or,
wow.
Yeah.
Neither have I.
Pretty
Just
darn
just that
cool.
once.
Yeah.
Just once.
Yeah.
Bradbury later found himself, he saw the film again years and years later, and he said, quote, "I found myself falling in love with it after doubting it for 50 years. So he thinks, you know, in the end, toward the end of his life, he realized it had turned out to be a pretty darn good movie.
I couldn't agree more. Jack Arnold, the director, he didn't want a monster in it either. One of his favorite things was the fact, was the fact that you had this psychological thriller where, like, you know, we know they're aliens, but we're not going to look at them, you know.
Right.
But
and who's an alien and who's not, which is very reminiscent of Joseph Campbell's The Thing, you know.
Absolutely.
What was
Absolutely.
it? What's the name of the original story from Joseph Campbell?
Who Goes There?
Who Goes There? Yeah.
Well, and also Invasion of the Body Snatchers, right? You know, there's another kind of all this Cold War paranoia that was like, and that's what, you know, is obviously the social undergirding of all these 50s sci-fi movies is, you know, nuclear anxiety and then the Cold War.
And fear of the other, and then fear of, I think definitely communism, you know, worrying about it infiltrating America. There was all that fear, especially being hyped up by McCarthy and all those guys. It almost seems like just fear of foreigners, maybe, you know. America's always had this kind of love-hate relationship with immigrants, which it's a country of immigrants, so it's kind of funny. But I love how this winds up being a story of aliens that are not meaning any harm.
Right.
They will harm if they have to, but they don't want to. That's not why they're here. They just happen to come to the wrong place. They're passing through, essentially.
Exactly. Car breaks down,
It's funny because you mentioned Jack Arnold and his desire to kind of keep the creatures away from this. And, you know, we think about Jack Arnold movies and we've got the obvious creature.
Oh, yeah.
But then there's the Incredible Shrinking Man. But actually the analog from his work that I'm reminded of the most with this movie is like Space Children. Have you seen this one? I mean, it's literally like a god or somebody beams like an alien being into a sea cave. And these children that are on this military base suddenly can kind of hear its thoughts. And they go to great lengths to just avoid seeing this thing at all costs. And I got shades of that from this movie. But
interesting.
Well, you know, a nice comparison to that is Howard Hawks' The Thing from Another World, where we do our best not to see James Arnaz in a rubber hat, right? Who's the monster. But so when he does show up, it's super effective.
Right.
You know, and
it's often in darkness, you know.
Oh yeah, no, you never get a good look at him.
The lights go out,
which is
and,
great. It's a good thing.
And then he's on fire, and
totally. He's really big, and you know, and he's indestructible and kind of spooky. But a lot of people are familiar with Carpenter's version of The Thing. But one thing to bear in mind is that Carpenter loved The Thing from Another World.
Adored it. Hawks is his favorite filmmaker.
And when he was saying, when he had the opportunity to remake it, he's like, okay, well, I'm not going to make the movie that they already made.
He went back to Who Goes There.
Yeah, we're going to take a different direction on this because the perfect version of this movie, in my opinion, or my favorite version, is done. I'm not going to just do that in color. You know, I'm going to do it different.
Yeah.
which I think is brilliant.
Well, speaking of Jack Arnold, I mean,
Yeah.
Colin already mentioned that he did Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yes, sir.
And he was famous for doing a lot of the B movies in the 50s.
Oh, yeah.
And there was this whole, well, sci-fi B movies, I should say. And there was this whole plethora of them coming out during the quote unquote atomic age.
Yeah.
And he also did This Island Earth, and he did Tarantula.
Yep.
About the giant spider.
Love them.
I need to see that one.
It's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I have it. I can loan it to you.
Yeah, I get a lot of This Island Earth in this film as well. There's a mystery about your so-called antagonist, and actually there ends up being kind of a benign innocence to them at the end. And you know, not to spoil a movie from 70 years ago, but I don't know. It seems like he really likes to revisit a certain set of motifs and themes.
No, I understand. Yeah. So like basically where the bad guys are trying to do the best they can, and occasionally they do bad things, but it's because they're desperate. And then in the end, they wind up doing the right thing.
Right.
You know.
Well, if you look at this movie, there really are no bad guys, are there? I mean,
No.
they're the people who are kind of closed off, isolationist, paranoids.
Yeah, maybe asshole sheriff, but you can understand his
I mean, he's not
motivations.
a
You can
bad guy.
you can
He's
No,
just
he's
understand.
not.
He's scared.
He's doing the best he can, and
Exactly.
he's dealing with weird crap.
Punch first, shoot first, you know, like don't ask
Yeah,
questions.
and the aliens have their own version of that. You know, the alien that ends up being kind of Ellen's
Yes.
analog,
Yeah.
Right,
who
right.
exchanges a series of deadly negative scratches at John.
Right.
Yeah.
Blast some holes in the wall behind.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know what I think at that point, because I was thinking about that, because it's a bit out of character for the aliens to be aggressive in that way. But when John Putnam shows up and he's trying to show up and warn them, at this point, it's like, no, you got too close, buddy. Now
Yeah,
you're too
yeah.
close. We're going to send our guard out. And by the way, she's going to look hot in a really nice dress.
Yeah. Which, by the way, she's the only doppelganger that gets that treatment.
Yeah, that looks amazing. Yeah, right.
How come-
Everybody else in work clothes. Yeah.
Why didn't Joe Sawyer get like a fancy suit? You know,
It's true. It's true.
That's right. Well, you remember, they did go back to the house and steal clothes.
It's
you know?
true. It's true.
So obviously they wanted to.
It's his fault for not having
on the
something
fancy
nicer in the
dress.
closet.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and also, yeah, exactly. I guess Joe just didn't have anything like that. Well, when they take John Putnam's clothes, right? They take everything in the closet. I think
Yeah.
that's just so classic. It's like,
Right.
whoa, they visited me too.
Like,
I don't
wait
have
a
a thing
second.
to wear.
Well, these aliens have great fashion sense.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you know that
apparently.
there are aliens around if your closet's empty. I mean, that's how you
That's
know.
it.
They're here.
yes.
Look for the glitter on the floor.
Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
Which do they? And actually, is that a plot hole? I mean, do they actually ever elaborate on what that is?
The glitter on the floor.
glitter trail?
Well, we see the glitter trail vanish on John Putnam's floor, so we know it's not permanent.
Okay.
So,
I feel like it's just like a slime trail, like from a snail
yeah, from
or
a snail.
something.
No, I think that's what it is. And I think now that you see the monster, we don't really need the slime trail. But I think the monster was shot later,
Yeah.
and they did some scenes that were not originally shot. Like, for example, when Ellen and John are driving down the highway and they see the damn thing right in the middle of the road, and it comes right up to them, and then they like veer off the road, and then what was that? I don't know. They look around, it's gone. I mean, and then the rest of the movie kind of proceeds as though they didn't see anything on the road. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
kind of like, well,
It is bizarre that they just kind of toss aside these really strange occurrences
Well,
that happen to them.
yeah, because they were shot later, right? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's because like, oh, well, we put that one in there, and now the rest of the movie isn't quite on target because, really, John and Ellen could have gone to the sheriff and gone, we saw the damn thing. It's got
Yeah,
one
it
eyeball.
looks like
it's
this.
standing in the
Yeah.
middle of the road.
Yeah.
You better watch out, The thing's in 3D, by the way. Yeah, so, but no, they don't do that. So but it's because the movie is so tight and solid and it rolls along, it's one of those speed bumps that we get over. I mean, it's absolutely nothing like modern cinema where you have a group of characters give you dialogue that sets up the next action scene to result in dialogue that sets up the next action scene, and where they just basically dismiss all of the plot holes, or they ignore them, or they jump over them, or they create them. But at the end of the day, what you've had is a gigantic spectacle, and if you're willing not to think about it, you'll have a good time. But if you bring your brain with you to the theater, you may have a hard time with these tentpole movies.
When you're talking about temple, you're talking about the modern temple.
Modern. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Whereas in this one, it's all character. I mean, it's basically about how we react to these visitors from another planet. That's what the movie is. It's showing different different versions of how we could respond.
Oh, totally.
And what might be more effective and what might not be.
And John Putnam even confronts the sheriff about that. Because the sheriff wants to go in there and clean it up, you know.
Right.
So he's ready to
He
go
wants to get
wipe
the boys,
aliens out.
get the shotguns.
Yeah, he's ready. Right now we're going to go clean it up. And he's like, well, why are they hiding? You know, and then Putnam points out, he says, well, see that spider walking around on the desert floor? He goes, well, why does it disturb you? Why? Because its mouth moves sideways, because it's got 8 legs, it's little, it's hairy. Why does that bother you? What would you do if it came close to you? And the sheriff doesn't even hesitate. He just he just crushes it, you know, and Putnam's like, you made my point. You know, that's what I'm saying, is that's why they don't look like us. So you're going to want to step on them. You know,
it's a brilliant little piece of writing.
I want Ellen and the rest of them out of there now.
You think I would have walked off and left her if I didn't have to? They're leaving tonight. They crashed here by mistake. Now they're fixing their ship to get out.
They can't get out. They're buried under tons of earth now. Take me to Ellen.
I tell you, she's safe as long as you don't interfere.
Then why don't they come out in the open?
Because they don't trust us. Because what we don't understand, we want to destroy.
I kill only what tries to kill me.
That spider. Why are you afraid of it? Because it has 8 legs? Because its mouth moves from side to side instead of up and down? If it came toward you, what would you do? This. Exactly as you destroy anything you didn't understand. Don't you see, Matt? That's why they've been hiding behind other men's faces until they can clear out.
You're wasting time. Are you going to tell me where they are? Do I form a posse and run the desert with a net until we find them?
Once before, you wouldn't believe me. When are you going to stop being a badge and become a human being?
That's my job. A thing is wrong, you said it right.
Matt, listen to me. They weren't fooling.
Yeah, it's so Bradbury. And also there's that, I got to highlight this other Bradbury moment. John Putnam and Ellen are out in the desert, and she's seen the Joshua tree, and she's freaked out. And then he's like, don't worry about it. It's just a Joshua tree. And then he's shining the light out in the desert. He wants to see these aliens. Mm-hmm. And he's like, where are you? Where are you hiding? And then he goes into the whole thing about there's 1,000 ways the desert can kill and all this. And it's just such lovely poetry.
Yes.
You know, it's just so delightful. And like this really makes this movie, puts it ahead of the other movies of that ilk at the time. Movies like, you know, War of the Worlds, which came out the same year, and which I am madly in love with that movie. But, you know, it's poetry free. War of the Worlds is poetry free, I would say. I mean, other than the very opening credits, which are taken directly from Wells, you know. Mm. But this movie has so much poetry in it, and especially the ending, you know, the parting words, right? You know, they'll be back.
Well, they've gone.
For good, John?
No, just for now. It wasn't the right time for us to meet. But there'll be other nights, other stars for us to watch. They'll be back.
There'll be other nights, other stars to dream on. You know,
it's like preparing the audience for, you know, let's do better. Let's do better than just, you know, rounding up the boys and shooting at things that we don't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Well, certainly when taken as a metaphor for xenophobia or, you know, fear of the other and things like that. So,
100%. I mean, okay. So you talked about some of the strengths there, Adam. I'm going to go into some of the weaknesses.
Okay.
Because this is a film that I like, but the sound design is a little generic for me. The sound of the meteor sounds a bit like a firework in a way, but I think that was common to 1950s sound.
Oh, yeah.
One of the other things that I didn't love in the film, and I really like Ellen, and I think the actress is great, but it seems like she screams at everything for a while.
Yeah. She's high strung.
Like, you know, something moves and she just lets it rip, and it's just like, whoa.
Answer the door. There's a kid in a costume. It's time to scream.
I'm sure that's not Barbara Rush's fault.
Right.
I'm sure it was, you know, the direction or the script, or maybe the studio said, you got to have the dame screaming. That's how they know it's a scary movie.
Yeah, I mean, with her also, it doesn't help that her life's ambition is to become this person's stay-at-home wife, you know, essentially. Well, and I realize that is very much a symptom of its time.
Yeah,
for sure.
Staple back then. Yeah,
absolutely. So
somebody's got to cook, Colin.
Yes,
and it ain't going to be the man who's out making that bread.
No, that's right. He's got to look through telescopes, man. He's got jobs to do.
He's got stuff to do. He's good. Amateur astronomy is a time-consuming profession.
Yeah.
Well, so and that's a good question. I mean, is he an actual working astronomer or working anything, or is this just he's just decided to retire to Phoenix. Well, I mean,
Well, I think
What is his profession?
No. Well, he writes newspaper articles.
Okay, I thought he might be a journalist. Okay,
Yeah, he
which
writes
fits his
articles.
character because he's curious and he wants to learn about things.
Yeah, he's got that. Well, here's, and I'm so glad you brought that up because I wanted to raise this trope, which a trope I'm madly in love with, and I miss it. That is the trope of the scientist hero. Okay,
sure.
The scientist hero, and like, so we have Richard Carlson in this movie. We've got Rex Reason in This Island Earth. Okay, we've got John Agar in Tarantula. He's more of a doctor, but he's kind of, sciencey doctor.
But not the scientist in The Thing from Another World. In
Right,
that one,
right.
which is interesting.
Right. Well, that's one where you don't have a scientist hero. You have this scientist.
You have a military hero.
That exactly. Well,
And the scientist is actually
Yeah.
pushing things too far the other way,
Yeah.
at least for Hawks, I
Yeah,
guess.
He's our villain,
It does
yeah.
seem like there are two lanes in the 50s.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. For
I mean,
sure.
like I'm thinking like of a movie like Terror from the year 3000 or whatever, So in that one, the scientists are also the villains, and it's the
yeah.
military guy that's.
Absolutely, but like you get
You can already see Democrats and Republicans.
well you get too much fun. You get in the movie Them, right? Your scientist is this wonderful, dottery, old, wise fellow, and our heroes are a policeman and an FBI agent.
Right.
It's not always the scientist hero, but when it is the scientist hero,
that is a trope. Yes.
it is just one of my favorite tropes. And Gene Barry in War of the Worlds, Jeff Morrow in Kronos, Paul Hubschmidt in Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. I mean, when these guys come up, this trope and
Which the story for Beast from 20,000 Fathoms was also written by Bradbury, right?
yeah, the foghorn. Yeah, it was in a newspaper.
And
Matter of
it's-
fact, you know the story, right?
I don't know the whole story. I know it's Harryhausen and Ray Bradbury.
That's right.
So
The producer of that, he read the story in the newspaper, or not the newspaper, but it was in a magazine at the time. The foghorn. He's like, this is my story. We're going with it. And so Harryhausen tells Bradbury, "Hey, this is great. I'm making a movie based on your story." And Bradbury goes, "Oh, are you?" Because he was not contacted, and so he reached out to the producer and said, "I'm so glad you've chosen my story to make your movie on, but I'm afraid I haven't heard from your agent regarding my compensation on that."
payment.
Yeah, regarding that. And so the producer was like, "Oh, okay, fine." So, paid him. So everything got legit at that point. And then
Now, is that
was off and running.
there are 3 producers listed here: Bernard W. Burton, Hal E. Chester, and Jack Dietz.
but there's the foghorn evolution into Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
Okay.
So much fun.
Well, so this film was put out by Universal International, which is, I actually for a while wasn't sure if Universal International was Universal or if it was some smaller studio that was kind of trying to ride on the coattails of Universal. So they Universal Pictures produced the film, and the producer is William Allen. I don't know if you guys are familiar with William Allen. I mean, he did a number of films with Jack Arnold,
Yes.
Creature from the Black Lagoon, This Island Earth, Tarantula, and a number of others.
Tell us about his past, my friend.
You know.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us? You know.
Me?
Yes.
I'm going back to the Mercury Theater.
That's it.
Is that where we're going?
That's where we're going.
Yeah. No, it's just so fascinating, to watch these careers evolve and roll through the years. So he was working with Orson Welles at the Mercury Theater. He even directed Orson Welles in certain productions.
Yeah, no, for people who don't know, Mercury Theater on the Air was a radio show that was very popular in the 30s and maybe 40s.
Yeah.
And Orson Welles was the creator and host, and Allen was one of the actors on those.
Yeah, and he is the voice over News on the March, which is in the opening of Citizen Kane.
He is. And not only that, he is also Jerry Thompson, the reporter investigating Rosebud in Citizen Kane. So the guy you see and the guy you hear in the dark phone booth and all those things, that's William Allen. And I remember watching this documentary years ago where he was talking about working with Welles. And he said, I used to call, he was very animated. He's very funny. I used to call Orson, sir, and I was older than him. I always remembered that. Thought that was great.
Oh, that's totally cool.
Every time I see his name, I think of, this is a stupid little aside, but I think of the Mystery Science Theater movie. They do a joke about, at the expense of his name, they say, all and all the time.
So Allen produced this. They made it for around $800,000 at the time, which is actually a pretty good chunk of change for that time, 1952, 53. Actually, they shot it in 53, so it was shot and came out in the same year. That tells you something about how fast they did things. It was shot in January to March of 53, came out later in the year.
Well, they were rushing. You know why they were rushing it out?
Why?
Because they were trying to beat another giant 3D movie into the theaters, a little epic called House of Wax.
So it was trying to beat House of Wax, which is the film with Vincent
Price.
Vincent Price.
Yeah.
And I think it's directed by Andre de Toth, which is kind of notorious because Andre de Toth had one eye and he was directing a 3D movie.
Andre, what the hell?
Which is interesting.
That didn't stop him, let me tell you.
No, it's known as one of the best 3D movies ever made.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, definitely is.
Now, this is actually a good moment to talk about what we have on the table here and then to maybe talk about the ways that we saw this film. Because, we encourage everybody to watch these films before we discuss them. And Adam has brought a Blu-ray transfer and a DVD transfer, and it looks like they both come with 3D glasses, which is phenomenal. But I have to tell you, it is very difficult to find this streaming, and there is a war crime happening to this film right now on Amazon Prime.
Oh, is it also on Tubi, I would say?
And on Canopy. There are 3 places where an absolute atrocity is happening to this film. Some brilliant, enterprising man, it's got to be a man, decided that he wanted to colorize the film.
Yes.
Using AI. And I'm not a doom and gloom AI guy.
Is that what I was watching? It was AI colorized?
They decided to AI colorize the thing. And not only AI colorize, but AI auto pan. So it's a stereo mix, and they're just using AI to pan the actors as they enter the frame left, frame right, whatever it is. And
my
it's
gosh.
absolutely hideous to hear and see.
There's a part in the version that I watched on Tubi where literally somebody's voice goes quiet and way off to, I think, the left channel.
Yes.
And I was like, what is going on? And then it switched back and kind of went normal again. I'm wondering.
It's AI auto panning. And the thing is, I could not fathom enjoying the film this way, but I couldn't find a different way to stream it. So I literally just turned grayscale on my computer.
There you go.
And it enhanced the experience tenfold.
Yeah.
So all I guess I'm getting around to is we do urge people to follow along, and it seems like there's some great physical media out there when it pertains to this stuff. But man, you are out of luck online.
The version that I saw on Tubi, I guess we shouldn't mention the company that put it out. It was in this shimmering color that seemed to be trying at 3D, and then Adam checked it out too and tried to watch it with the red and blue glasses, and it was not 3D.
No, it's
so
not.
I don't know what they're doing there, but that's how I watched the film. And despite that, I still loved it. And I should say, Adam brought in Universal's 2016 with the original 3D and 3-track stereophonic sound. There's also a 2D version on the disc in mono if you prefer to watch it that way.
Yeah, which was how it was seen on TV forever and ever. And one thing to note about the 3D version, it is not 3D anaglyph, which would be the red and blue glasses. The 3D version is the version that that requires a 3D monitor, and then the polarizing glasses that synchronize to the 3D monitor to give you but basically you'll be seeing it in high def in 3D in black and white, and not have the issues that arise when you put the red over one eye and the blue over another eye, because it can make your head explode if you're not used to that kind of thing.
Well, so as somebody who has had the 3D experience with this film, can you tell us how it serves the film?
Oh my gosh, yes.
And when it serves the film, I guess?
Absolutely. Okay, so when the creature is approaching the camera, you don't see it in 2D, but you see it in 3D. He's got these funky arms that are hanging down low, and they're coming at you, and they get closer to you than the rest of him. And so this monster is actually reaching for you, and you get that in 3D, but you don't get that.
I didn't see that because I watched the 2D.
Later in the movie, when there's that great speech again, I'm sure this is Bradbury just shining through, where Sheriff Matt is going, Putnam, most murders are committed at 92 degrees. He goes,
No, you're close, too. Could be any one of them.
Stop working yourself up, Matt. It's hot enough without raising your blood pressure.
Yeah. Did you know, Putnam, that more murders are committed at 92 degrees Fahrenheit than any other temperature? I read an article once. Lower temperatures, people are easygoing. Over 92, it's too hot to move, but just 92, people get irritable.
But 92 degrees, people just get irritable. And so in 3D, now remember in that scene, he reaches for his gun, which is hanging on screen right. Okay, well, in 2D, that's not a big deal. He picks up his gun, and you kind of worry a little bit that maybe he's going to, take off Putnam's head, although unlikely. But in 3D, he reaches right to you and takes the gun in the extreme foreground and brings it to himself. And it makes much more of a statement.
Interesting.
And one thing about the 3D, and this is just universally true of 3D, is that it takes a minute for your head to put it together. Okay, so it does not work for cutty types of shows or shows with a great deal of left to right action that is happening fast, because again, your brain kind of needs time to kind of put it all together. So this movie is actually really on the money as far as how they handle their 3D, because basically the depth is just so beautiful. I mean, even in the very beginning of the show, the helicopter coming in, I don't even think that's 3D. Everything's really flat when it flies over and you see Sandrock is revealed, and we've got Putnam
and it lands
narrating.
on the camera.
Once we get inside Putnam's house, we were in hardcore 3D, and like that fireplace is sitting in your lap, and then our leads are like in between, and then behind them there's a table with candles on it, and behind that there's like these, the window and the drapes and and like, but you feel it. I mean, it's very strong. It's very good 3D.
Is this a 2D? Is this a 2-camera 3D? Is that how they're shooting this? Okay.
Yes, that it is. And I believe they built their own rig. Universal built its own rig for this.
Well, Universal International released it June 5th, 1953. It made around $1.6 million, which is roughly double the budget, which probably at the time they weren't bleeding as much money for marketing it, So it probably was a decent profit.
Oh, I'm sure.
It wasn't a massive hit, but it obviously stayed around and probably became more so on television.
I'm sure that's right. One thing that is interesting is like in its day, genre was not considered, the horror genre, the science fiction genre in particular was not considered a highly profitable genre. There was way more money in Westerns. There was way more money in dramas, way more money in comedies.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. And like today, I would be hard pressed to name a drama from the 1950s, et cetera, but like these genres, they really have legs. And so it may be a small audience, but like it isn't going away.
Right. And staying power.
It really is.
We're still talking about it.
I have a hard time watching the horror movies now and the sci-fi movies now just because I'm busy. But I do know for a fact that years down the road, when I'm trying to pick something to see, I know I'm going to be going to the genre and go, what was that thing I missed back in 2025? Where? Oh, there it is. And then I'm going to check it out. Horror movies really benefit from this because so many people, they just want to be scared, and they don't need lots of money to be scared. I mean, you look at Paranormal Activity. I mean, this was not where we put all of our money on screen by any stretch. I mean, it's all home movie feel. So you just have to know how to scare people, right? And you can prosper.
I mean, I do feel like we are kind of lacking in a certain kind of horror movie. And actually, I guess maybe the last time I've seen anything like it, maybe like 2019's The Vast of Night or something like that. But I do feel like we're missing this kind of wide-eyed wonder, I guess, sense of wonder in our horror movies. We don't ever get a chance to kind of have these kind of wistful, soul-searching horror movies anymore. Everything is everything is either grief, either an allegory for your grief, or is as Adam described, a slasher movie or something that's literally just designed to be atmospheric, but never really trying to impart any kind of probing or questioning about the nature of existence. I don't know.
Yeah, you're only allowed a certain amount of mystery, I think, in the modern commercial horror or sci-fi film. And then, usually they figure everything out by the end, and all the questions are answered and everything's tied up in a neat little bow. And it's nice where, in this film, the aliens cause some harm, but it's clear that they're not there to do so, and they leave, and we don't know why, we don't know where they came from. We don't know. They don't say they're coming back.
Yeah. And that's one of the unique, what feels so unique to me about this film is like the tone is pretty constant throughout. I mean, even like the first line you're talking about that has their kind of like panning into his house. Like I think I have it here. So he says, this is Sandrock, Arizona, of a late evening in early spring. It's a nice town,
knowing its past and sure of its future. as it makes ready for the night and the predictable morning. The desert blankets the earth, cooling, resting for the fight with tomorrow's sun. And in my house near the town, we are also sure of the future. So very sure.
So very sure. You know, and it's like, it's just like that tone, it just never lets up. It's just the entire film it's
terrific,
dripping with that. And, you know, I just feel like we're amiss for that kind of a film.
I agree. A kind of cosmic look.
Oh,
it's sci-fi and
brought it right back.
Horror.
Nice.
I mean, that's something that we're definitely missing. I mean, I was talking earlier about weaknesses, but this film has an abundance of strengths. You know, the special effects that Adam was talking about, I think the script and the acting are phenomenal, and we should go more into the acting. But also, to Colin's point about Arizona, the locations and studio work are really wonderful. I so enjoyed the mixture of California locations and Universal studio work that make up the visual landscape of the film.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the desert is so cinematic, and especially, you know, and they're highlighting the cool stuff, you know, the Joshua trees is like, whoa, that's awesome.
And Arizona does have Joshua trees that some people don't, I think some people might think, oh, it's only in California or whatever. No, they're in other places.
Yeah.
And they shot, it's supposed to take place in Arizona, and they actually did change the license plate for this film. So they are Arizona license plates. They was shot in Lucerne Valley, Victorville, California, Santa Clarita, California, and Mojave Desert, California, and on stage 12 of Universal Studios. And did you guys see the courthouse square, the Universal Courthouse that's in Back to the Future?
Yeah, that's the sheriff's office, right?
That's
there you
awesome.
Go.
How cool.
So it's both very studio bound and also very, you know, they did some good location work to give us to open up the world. That's one of the things I really do like about great studio work, is that mixture of the two, and that kind of, you know, artifice and reality kind of being melded together to build a kind of bigger world.
Yeah, it's pretty seamless here, I feel. One weakness, there is a bit of a narrative weakness.
Okay.
Which is these aliens are so advanced, and they presumably have all this, you know, they have this technology that is so much more advanced, and they've been working on this sort of prototype engine, I get the sense. And the moment that they're faced with any amount of like pushback or trouble at the end, they immediately decided to make it a suicide mission.
Well, they don't want it to fall into the wrong hands, right?
But
oh my gosh.
But
can you imagine humans on other planets? That's
the
just trouble.
sheriff. Yeah.
But it just felt it felt like a little bit of a stretch that John Putnam had to remind them, well, you can just turn it on us. You know?
Exactly.
You can just turn that technology on us and destroy us immediately.
Exactly. Right. You can bake everybody out there if you want to. Yeah.
And the aliens kind of like have a head scratch moment. That was a bit of a narrative miss for me. But I still, if you get too tangled in those kinds of logistical weeds, then the movie is probably not succeeding where it should be. But that was not really a problem for me.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of felt like it was one of those, we're not going to let this fall into the wrong hands. And, you know, kind of moments. But what I really like about that scene in the climax, and especially where John Putnam is confronting his doppelganger for the first time, you know, it's like, so who's going to speak for the aliens? Well, of course,
John Putnam.
You know, yes. Richard Carlson 2.0.
The B-side.
Yeah, that's right. But Putnam gets to negotiate, and he does it brilliantly. He's like, now, wait a minute. Let the others go and prove to them you mean them no harm. And it's like, oh, that's kind of pretty slick right there.
Well, and I think also the way we can reason this is that the aliens, I guess, have witnessed a lot of the sheriff's kind of mentality.
Right.
And so when they run into Putnam, because they even say to him, they say, we don't want to harm you, you least of all.
Right.
So they understand this guy's a little more evolved than the average human.
Sure. And we can assume on a different level just that there are cultural differences where, you know, like even the slightest hint of pushback means something different in their world than it does on ours, you know.
Sure.
And to Adam's point, they can't take a risk. They can't take a risk that the humans are going to do something crazy.
Right.
And I really like when he says that if you had fallen on our world,
things might have been different.
It might have been different. And it was like, oh, you know, it's, I want to see that movie. You know?
Yeah, totally.
Come out where I can see you.
No.
Let me see you as you really are. What do you want? What are you doing?
We are repairing our ship to leave your world. We need your help.
You asked me to help you. How can I when you've kidnapped and stolen For all I know, even murdered.
We have a long way to go. By nightfall, we will have left your Earth. You will not see us until it is time.
Time for what? Time to kill? Time to take over?
We have souls and minds, and we are good.
Then why are you hiding?
We are not yet ready to meet in friendship.
Why not?
Because you would be horrified at the sight of us. Had you fallen on our world, it might have been different. We understand more.
All I understand is that you've taken my friends captive. And now the girl.
We hold her hostage as well as the others. Keep your people away, or we will destroy them.
Well, they did make a sequel to this, but apparently it's not very good. Did you ever see that?
No, I didn't. I had no idea.
Yeah, in the 90s, apparently. But
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not saying go look it up. I mean, look it up, but don't.
Yeah,
I don't know if-
96.
I don't know if you want to watch it.
It came back from outer space? What's the...
I never saw it.
They just gave it a part 2.
I'll hunt it down. I mean, E for effort, right? You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they did the best they could, but it's like, I feel like this movie kind of caught lightning in a bottle, and you got Ray Bradbury giving you all this great material, and it's like, those are big shoes to fill.
Arnold was a good director. I think we should talk about the cast. You mentioned Richard Carlson. I think he's fantastic. I'm not that familiar with his work. I think he's really likable.
Oh, yeah.
He's vulnerable yet strong. So he's a great lead in my book. That's what I kind of always look for. He's open to the strangeness of the cosmos, you know?
Yeah.
I guess he's known for George Cukor's The Little Foxes and Jack Arnold's Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, yeah.
And he became a popular actor in sci-fi and horror. But he was also a screenwriter and a director later in his career. So he had a pretty interesting time in Hollywood.
He's in as far as genre movies go, he also is he's got a character that he plays in Valley of Gwangi years later in the 60s, where he's the guy who owns the circus, which winds up with the giant T-Rex.
Okay.
So he gets to play a cowboy again,
Is that with stop motion animation?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that, but I haven't seen it. Is it Harryhausen?
Yeah.
Okay. What'd you guys think of Ellen Fields, Barbara Rush? Obviously we talked about the screamo tactics.
Yeah, I think when she's not in that mode, she's actually pretty effective. I mean, she's not as kind of timid as a lot of the leading heroines are in the 50s, at least.
Right. And she seems to be being contrasted with Kathleen Hughes, who's George's girl, the real bombshell lady that...
She is the weirdest character in this whole show.
Yeah.
I mean, she really is. And
apparently she's an answer to Marilyn Monroe. They were trying to build her up and make her into like a big blonde bombshell star.
You can tell because she's the one note in this whole orchestra that sticks out, and you're like, whoa, where is that? Why is that here? She's standing there. She's affecting this pose. They're highlighting her figure,
right.
And she's got this kind of hypersexual attitude, and then she comes and goes. It's like, and her scene's over, and that's it. And then she gets like fourth billing at the end of the show.
She does, yeah. They do want people to think about her. They want her,
and she's glammed up.
Yeah,
So it was just such a head scratcher.
Because in everybody else, I think they're in scenes that they actually shot when they do their the video credit. At the film credit at the end when they show their face and they smile or whatever, she has like a black background or something because they didn't have her doing that. She's barely in the film.
Yeah, exactly. I almost feel like at some point during production,
like an afterthought.
She made the right connection with the right person, and they
What are you trying to say about Billy Allen, huh? What are you trying to say? No,
who, me? Yeah,
I don't think he was. No, I
don't think he was the one.
I don't think he was.
It was somebody at
probably
Universal,
an executive who is nameless and shall remain nameless.
Yep.
But I liked Barbara Rush a lot, and I liked the fact that I kind of liked that dichotomy of the two women.
Well, and the one who's got Kathleen Hughes, the blonde bombshell, right?
Yeah,
he's a lineman. You know what I mean? It's almost like, was this guy, was he the football? Was he the football hero and this is his day job now? And
I know.
You're saying he overachieved.
Or not.
Well, no. I mean, he just went on to a normal life. And I'm like, how do you rate this girl? Because like she
looks like she would jump from man to man to get what she wants.
There you go.
Maybe she's a good woman. Maybe she's just a little bit too influenced by pop culture.
Maybe they just met and she hasn't figured out he's a lineman. You know what I mean? Maybe, but I have a feeling they go back. She's like, but George, he's got such an appetite. It's like, It's like, oh my gosh.
She definitely doesn't have a lot of sympathy for her. Like his
Yeah, right,
potential
exactly.
plight.
Yeah, him being missing doesn't
And
seem to...
she almost seems flirtatious with our
yeah.
lead.
Oh, everybody.
You know? Goodbye.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
But Ellen stands in very positive contrast with that. And what I really like about the character of Ellen is that when the shit hits the fan and the people are calling Johnny an asshole and or he's crazy, she stands by him.
Yeah.
She's like, no, if Johnny says he saw it, he saw it. And
I do like that too. I think there's a few moments where he's like, I'm going to go down into the crater, and she's like, okay, let's go. And I'm like,
Right.
Okay, I guess I believe that.
Well, she's like, where you go, I go.
I like that sentiment, but there were times when I felt like it was a little affected, but maybe I'm wrong.
No.
But she's good. Barbara Rush is good overall. And she won a Golden Globe in '54 as the most promising female newcomer for this movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
That's awesome.
she got some mileage on it. People noticed,
Great. Well,
they were supposed to notice Kathleen Hughes, but they noticed Barbara Rush.
Well, both of them went on to have like just huge careers, and they were in TV all the time. They were in both.
Are you talking about
Barbara
Hughes?
and Hughes and Barbara.
Oh, okay.
Hughes
Okay.
and Rush. Yeah,
Okay.
no, yeah. But they both had. I mean, there are over 94 some odd appearances altogether in their careers.
I looked up Rush's credits. So I guess she's known for Robin and the Seven Hoods, 1964, When Worlds Collide, 1951. And also Hombre, 1967. Those are a few of the films. We already mentioned a guy that we should talk a bit more about.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about George? Did you notice anything funny about George the lineman?
I know that he went on a 3-hour tour that was...
He went from the desert to Catalina, or trying to get to Catalina Island, I guess.
Apparently, there's some island out there we don't know about, but I tell you what,
Boy, it's far.
You get stuck on that island, you're going to have a hell of a TV show.
What?
Yeah, he's the professor, which actually I don't really have much of a history with Gilligan's Island, but I do recognize him from it.
When I was very, very little, I would watch Gilligan's Island reruns, and I kept looking at this movie like, this guy's a professor in something, or he's a scientist. Like literally, I was like, he's a scientist in something I've seen. What is he? And it finally smacked me in the face. I'm like, holy smokes, that's the professor from Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
But he was also in Roger Corman's Attack of the Crab Monsters.
Oh, yeah.
Written by the great Charles B. Griffith.
Oh, yeah.
Who I had the fortune of meeting one time. Charles Griffith, by the way, if you guys don't know, wrote Little Shop of Horrors, Bucket of Blood, some of the best Corman stuff in the early years.
He's kind of Roger's secret weapon in the early years.
He was.
No doubt about it.
And a few other, Charles Beaumont and some other other writers.
Absolutely, Matheson. Yeah.
Matheson, obviously, total nuclear weapon right there.
Definitely.
But yeah, so Russell Johnson, this guy in a small part, later becomes a big TV star on Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
He is also, we mentioned this Island Earth. He's got a pretty big role in that as well.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So, self-sacrificing.
That's right.
The spoiler. If you guys haven't seen 50s science fiction and you don't want spoilers, you're listening to the wrong podcast.
Don't let us
We're
spoil
blowing
it
it all up.
Actually, to be fair, I feel like with a lot of, particularly with Jack Arnold stuff, I feel like that you could know the plot entirely in advance and you would still kind of be missing the point. I feel like these are kind of difficult to spoil because ultimately they are such morality tales or such allegories for whatever they're allegories for that you could probably know plot point by plot point and still be missing a bunch.
And still enjoy it.
Right.
Still watch the film and enjoy the characters, etc.
Absolutely. I think what happens, at least with this movie in particular, as a matter of fact, is that while we're discussing the parts, really the sum of the parts is greater.
Yeah.
What I mean? Or the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, right? It's like, because everything really comes together very nicely in this. And I mean, you even had a good experience watching it, a very poor version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few other people I want to talk about in it. Charles Drake as Sheriff Matt Warren. I think he is fantastic playing the obnoxious, closed-off normie. I was so annoyed by him. And I'm wondering if everybody in the 50s if they were actually rooting for him, like, yeah, let's go shoot these guys. Or if they were thinking, yeah, wait, let's figure out what's going on first. We don't know anything about them.
I mean, I think that the movie very consciously tries to make a somewhat of an antagonist out of him. Immediately, he's kind of vying for Ellen's affections.
He's taking care of her. He's looking out for her.
Yeah.
I don't care about you. I care about Ellen.
Right.
All right,
Yeah.
fine.
Sure
But that's
does.
great. That's that kind of straight talk. You want that, right? You want to know. There is no subtle part of this man's personality anywhere. You know,
Right.
he's like, he doesn't like you. He tells them straight up, Putnam, you know, the people of this town, they don't understand you. And what they don't understand, they're against one way or
Right.
the other. And it's like, dadgum, man. Right in your face.
Now, all that said, him portraying this character that we're supposed to be annoyed with,
Yeah.
he comes back at a certain point and Putnam starts describing what he's discovering.
Yeah.
And he says, do you believe me? And he says, I'm trying to.
Right.
You know, so it's like, okay, there's a bit of gray in this character. He's not a two-dimensional character. He's three-dimensional.
Yeah. Oh, nicely done.
And
yeah, and for a cop that has a civilian pull his gun on him, he shows a pretty decent amount of restraint.
he punches him.
Oh, yeah.
He
They
punches
have a
Sheriff
fight.
Yeah.
Matt Warren.
Yeah.
I mean, like the fact that the sheriff doesn't just arrest him and throw him in jail for the
Yeah.
rest of the movie. It's
Exactly.
like, you know what? I kind of like this guy.
No, yeah, that's
He's
the
all right.
restraint I'm alluding to.
You're right.
Well, you know, he had bigger fish to fry in that moment. I mean, you know, he wasn't
gotta-
going to stop and go,
he's
okay,
gotta round up the
wait a-
posse.
Yeah, exactly. You know, they've grabbed Ellen. They've grabbed, you know, I mean, it's like the situation's clearly gotten out of control. It's time to stop listening to the crazy guy who just punched me in the jaw twice. And then,
Yeah.
oh, he just stole my car. Okay, fine. We'll get our
deal
own-
with that later.
Yeah, exactly. Man, he's just racking up all these crimes. You
Yeah.
know, you've assaulted an officer. You've stolen a police car. I mean, geez.
Now, what's interesting is Howard Hawks, we were talking about, you know, it came from another world. He wouldn't have had him round up townspeople to be the posse. He only wants professionals to be going against the bad guys. He makes a point of that in Rio Bravo. Rio Bravo is an answer to High Noon, where Gary Cooper tries to round up townspeople and nobody's helping him.
Yeah.
So he says, you don't go around asking non-professionals to do that, you know? So literally they make a point of it in Rio Bravo. So it's interesting to see all these different opinions about how to be a man of action from different auteurs of the 50s and 40s and 60s and that era, you know?
And one thing great that Bradbury in all of his writing will do is he lets people be people, man. And like, they're not all good and they're not all nice.
And they're not all bad.
And they're not all bad. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. You get this big mix. I mean, you sit down with Martian Chronicles and you have all that again. You know, and then you really, you kind of have the same bit of humanity here. You're like, no, think about what would really happen. What would really happen if the Hicks in the desert had a spaceship crash into the ground and then it poked its nose in the head of the Excelsior mine.
Right.
You know, what is going to go down, right? You know, because you may not have a John Putnam. It may just be people showing up with their rifles.
You know what? I think we would, some of us, I should say, might assume that, yeah, it would be people showing up with their rifles. But I would like to think that Bradbury's got it right, that it would be a mix, that it would be both kinds.
So.
Both kinds
Right.
would be, and they'd be battling each other
Yeah.
over how to handle what's happening.
But I do think that there would be a certain contingent, probably guys with a bunch of flags in their trucks, that would probably be most reactive. That's just my hunch.
Sure.
But yeah.
Could be. Yeah.
Well, the other character actor that I wanted to mention that I really enjoyed, and he might have been one of my favorite parts of the whole movie, was Joe Sawyer playing Frank Dalen. He was the lineman, and he was just great both as the electrician and as the alien.
Yeah.
I liked him as both, and he was convincing as both with very little to do. Like he just
totally sold me.
visually, I was like, I'm with this guy. This actor is
Yeah.
it. He's a Canadian actor, and you might recognize him from things like Petrified Forest from 1936, which is an amazing film with Humphrey Bogart in a smaller role where Bogart started to gain traction and become a bigger star. And then George Cukor's It's a Double Life and Kubrick's The Killing.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, gotta highlight those character actor guys. Some of these guys really brought a lot to whatever they did, and I like Joe Sawyer a lot.
See, I tell you, let's comment about Richard Carlson for a minute.
Yeah.
I love him, and I'm not throwing rocks, but I will say that he can get into a flight pattern, okay, where he's not giving you, like Charles Drake, okay, he can get into a flight pattern too, but Joe Sawyer, there ain't no flight pattern. You know, there's kind of an animal sound quality that people have when they're just honestly talking, you know? It's like there's a bottom end to things to their voice, you know? It's there. And if you need to use it, you can use it. And there'll be things like, you know, that's an animal sound, right?
Right.
And human beings make that sound. Okay. Richard Carlson on his dying day, on his last breath, will never make an animal sound in any of these movies. Okay, like Creature from the Black Lagoon and all these, and he's playing these impassioned scientists, right?
You think he's a little too heady, not emotional enough? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying that he needs a bottom end.
Okay.
If I were directing him, I would say, you need to ground this a little bit more. It needs to come from your gut and less from up here. More of connected to your body, to the rest. Because I assure you, if you just have this guy and you talk to him off the record, he's not going to give you the same delivery that he does when he gives this dialogue. It's almost like he knows he's reading poetry, and he's going to let it be poetic.
Well, and could it be also that he is playing to what the script is giving him?
Oh, yeah.
And that he actually would do more what you're talking about if he had dialogue that was a little different or...
Entirely possible. But the thing is, he's always in that flight pattern, and he's in that flight pattern in Valley of Guanji, Creature from the Black Lagoon, here, and It Came from Outer Space. I just think it's his style. It's his acting style. It's like, and so that's when you're, bringing up a negative from time to time. This is, for me, it's not even, I wouldn't even call it a negative. It's just an observation. It's like,
I'm with you, Adam. I mean, he's always seems like he's kind of searching, or he's got this kind of longing or this wistfulness. And it's very, his head is in the clouds. And I have a hard time picturing him in a scene where he pulls up to a bar and says, give me a beer, something like that. Like, and that's
right.
But maybe, yes, I mean, to your point, Bill, maybe he's just not ever allowed to like show that kind of range.
Well, I mean, I think in this, at least in this film, and I haven't seen the other films. This is the only film I think I've ever seen him in. He's playing that dreamer, that guy who believes in something greater and believes in some kind of binding energy, and he's the one who thinks about electricity. Like somehow the alien is tied to electricity, which is why they are so interested in the lineman for the county.
Yes.
I'm having a hard time not singing that song, but that'll probably get us taken off the air here.
You don't want to get. We do love Glenn Campbell.
Yeah, all the Glenn Campbells. But so that's an interesting point, and maybe he could have brought a bit more of that lower end that you're talking about. I mean, he does punch the sheriff. That's pretty low.
I love all that.
That's pretty low end.
Yeah, they get it.
So the cinematography, I think it's well shot, but like not special. And I think part of that might be because they're shooting 2 cameras and they're shooting 3D, and they can't really like do acrobatics with the cameras.
I will say that it seems like they're doing day for night in a lot of situations, and it's not very noticeable. So I would give them credit for that. It does feel like they are actually shooting scenes at night, which is really difficult at this time. And they seem to be pulling that off pretty well. And if it is day for night, then they disguise it really well.
Very well. So that's Clifford Stein, who did the cinematography. I think it's quite well edited as well. Colin, did you think that they did a good job there?
It is pretty invisible, but as Adam was saying, I mean, it is just kind of a very tight movie, and
81 minutes.
It really doesn't overstay its welcome, and everything is every scene has kind of a compactness to it that is welcome. And honestly, the only time that you're kind of allowed to spin your wheels is when our 2 lead actors are kind of trying to figure out what the best course of action is, which is maybe the pivotal moment of decision in the film, which is in that sheriff's office. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like that's like the longest scene of any kind, aside from, the final scene that takes place in that chamber with the doppelgangers.
Yeah.
And there is a moment in that scene where, he comes back and Charles Drake is trying to, Sheriff Matt is trying to wrap his head around what the hell's going on. And, he's struggling to conceptualize aliens taking the form of people. And he's like, how could I trust anything I see? How could I trust that, you're not an alien too? And then all of a sudden, and I think this is kind of a stumble, but John Putnam goes, yeah, that's right.
Is a little bit,
I'd give anything if things are back the way they were this morning with me calling you a fool. Is it reasonable for anything to stay alive after hitting Earth that hard? It's reasonable because it's true. Believing all this talk about taking over other people's forms. That's crazy, I tell you. Nothing would ever add up. I couldn't even be sure that you're John Putnam standing beside me. That's right, you couldn't. Wouldn't it be a fine trick if I weren't really John Putnam at all? Something from another world come here to give you a lot of false leads.
What if I'm an alien here to give you a bunch of false leads?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, whoa, pump the brakes, man. That's the last thought you want in this guy's head.
I do. Yeah, they might have overdone that moment. And part of it's that Putnam's walking into the foreground, and you have Drake in the background watching him, and it's a little too emphasized. Yeah, I think that was part of it too.
Putnam's really smart. He's really sharp. He's really wise. And suddenly he absolutely forgets that he's dealing with a sheriff who's completely linear in his logic and can't think around a corner, and you're going to give him just what he needs to kick you the hell out of his office.
But
you know what I mean?
But isn't it also wise to put some doubt there? I mean, you're right. The sheriff's going way too hard in one direction.
Yeah.
But also, Putnam doesn't know if the aliens are being straightforward with him either.
That's true.
He doesn't know. Like, they could totally be trying to take over the town. Who knows? They might mean them harm. He doesn't know either. So I guess...
Played a bit like a nose tweak, and I guess that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
you know
it could
what
have
I
been
mean?
softer.
It's like,
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and so much of this dialogue, in fact, it sounds like a lot of the dialogue is just verbatim from Ray Bradbury's manuscript. It doesn't sound like they took a lot of liberties there, and maybe that's a moment where you kind of rephrase that, you know?
Right? Yeah, exactly. It's like maybe, hey, Harry Essex, let's look at this line here. Well,
who knows? Was that Harry Essex or was it Ray Bradbury? Who
I don't
knows?
know. This is a question
we may never know.
I have found. Well, I went hunting to see if I could find Bradbury's manuscript. Okay, that this.
Yeah.
Screenplay was extrapolated from.
The treatment exists.
It does. There are 4 versions of it. I did not know.
Okay.
For a mere $75, I could have my own copy of it.
Wow.
My own hard copy. And
Not of an original, though.
No.
Okay.
His works are so good. Yeah,
Absolutely.
His writing is so good. I mean, if you just sit down and read The Foghorn, it's just lovely. And it's short. It's very brief. The monster shows up. He thinks he's answering a mating call. He finds a friggin' lighthouse. He tears it down. He goes back in the ocean. He's bummed. I mean, that's that. I've just spoiled the whole thing. The point is how he tells it.
I want to talk a little bit about, these guys that did all of this work with the special photography. So it's David S. Horsley and Roswell A. Hoffman did special photography and special photography effects, respectively. Who knows how many countless hours they pulled trying to make this 3D work. Given that 3D is problematic now, I can only imagine what it would have been like in 1953 when you're releasing a film the same year. You don't have,
Right.
You don't have James Cameron time. You have, Universal low budget time. So Interesting. Kudos.
And yet simplified at the same time because, you film it and it works or it doesn't. Right. Whereas today you film it and then if it doesn't work, you go into post and you fix it, and then you fix it again. You fix it again. You fix it again, and you just keep fixing it until you're satisfied. And this is, it was a physical world and they were optimized for all that stuff. So when the avalanche is falling down onto the camera in 3D, there's a big glass plate in between you and those rocks, which are, I'm sure, styrofoam, but nonetheless,
right.
It looks good. Maybe you shoot a take or two if you can, and then you're out, and when the spaceship crashes right into your face, there's a frame or two of the mirror because
yes, I actually literally went back and watched it again and again. I was like, what is that? Oh, it's a mirror of some kind or a pane of glass or something.
Exactly. It's like it's so much better if you just crash it directly into a mirror, which is reflecting that image into your camera, so.
In the trick department. As they used to call it.
There you go.
We made it up in the trick department.
Yeah.
And what's wonderful too is that they were making so many films a year that they would get a lot of experience and they would become these seasoned professionals at something. Whereas now, they're making a movie every 2, 3, 5 years or whatever. And back then they're just cranking these things. And so they're getting so much technical prowess from repetition.
In the studio system, you took care of your experts. And you made sure that, that if you needed them and you needed them to be busy, you kept them busy. And so.
And they went from film to film to film. There wasn't this downtime like there is now.
When the studio system faded away, it went into that, independent operator system. And so everybody was, a
contractor.
A contractor, precisely. Yeah. And so now everything was negotiated. Instead of like, a 5-year contract with MGM, now it was like, well, your contract for this movie is XYZ,
That's
and then maybe we'll bring you back next time, maybe not. But
Did you guys like the music at all?
I did.
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for a thereman.
Is there some theremin on this one?
Oh,
definitely.
Was there anything else? Yeah, no. Well, the theremin and the horns, and if you catch up with Creature from the Black Lagoon, the horns are all, apparently the creature plays the trumpet because I tell you what, there's some horns in that movie that, when the creature shows up, dun 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 dun. these horns are screaming at you. You know, of course, the creature is showing up and, tearing people's faces off and throwing them in the water. So, he earned those horns. These creatures being not so violent, but being scary looking, when they show up, they're disturbing, and your music it's that wonderful over the top 50s stuff. I do love it.
So it's credited to Joseph Gershenson as the music supervisor, but uncredited people are Irving Gertz, Herman Stein, and Henry Mancini.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I know that this was also a childhood favorite of John Carpenter. And he talked about, I think you and I might have talked a little bit about this, where the opening shot of the spaceship crash landing into the Earth was something that scared him terribly when he was a kid, but it also thrilled him.
Yeah.
And he sort of fell in love with, I guess, probably sci-fi and maybe movies in general. And I love that. I'm a Carpenter fan. Well, so what are 3 films we've talked about? Some creature features. What are 3 films that you've seen recently, old or new, that you'd suggest the audience check out?
So there is a really bizarre short. It is floating around the internet somewhere. You can't miss it. It is Pizza Panic Party. Okay.
Oh wow!
All right.
Love the alliteration.
It is nuts. It is directed by Graham Denman, who does an absolute, our buddy Graham.
Okay.
Does an absolutely lovely job. And the creature, there's a creature, and it is made by the astonishing Mark Villalobos, and it's just too much fun. But it's a short, so
terrific. Did you work on that one?
Mm-hmm.
Or? Okay.
Anytime the creature blinks, that's me. I mean, that's about all I did.
Okay.
There wasn't too much to do,
right
because it was all practical. Right. Everything's practical. It's so good. It's just goofy in all the right ways. It's just so much fun. I'm recommending that, but I'm going to give you 3 features. So I don't know if you guys have seen 5 Million Years to Earth, also known as Quatermass in the Pit. This is a Hammer movie from the 1960s.
Oh boy.
It's really good. I don't want to overhype it because you haven't seen it. Brian Donlevy, who did the black and white Quatermasses, who's like this little fiery American guy who's mad as hell in every scene.
Right.
Well, now we get a Quatermass who's like really dignified. This actor is rock solid, and his name just shot right out of my head. But the movie's sharp, and it's based on actually a TV series that was on the BBC, which ran in 4 parts. And the premise is that in London, there's a tunnel being dug, and they unearth a spacecraft. And all around the spacecraft are these mutated skulls of apes, but these apes have these extra big brains, and so it's just it's like, what the hell's going on? And all hell breaks loose, and it's
so similar to the first film.
It's handled so well. Yeah. The first film, X the Unknown, I believe. Yeah. But in that one, you actually have a rocket crash.
Right.
In this one, we dig up a very ancient rocket that has been, not a rocket, but spaceship that's been under the ground for a very long time. Absolutely love it. Wanted to wave the flag for The Thing from Another World again. Howard Hawks. If anyone hasn't seen it, and I don't worry about bringing your prejudice of The Thing to this movie, because it's a whole different animal. But it is absolutely lovely filmmaking. And I mean, yes, it's the same idea. It's a setting, but man, this movie rockets forward. And, Howard Hawks' style of directing, and Hawks is not the nominal director on this thing. That was Christian Nyby. But Christian was being broken in on this movie, and Howard Hawks was really hands-on. So, it's
clear that Hawks had a big hand on it. It's directed very much in a Hawksian way, and with Hawksian tropes in the script and everything.
The whole thing, it's just so good. I can't.
The first Quatermass film, I think, is the Quatermass Experiment, 1955. Okay. Brian Levy, at least Brian Dunleavy. At least that's the one that I've seen.
All right. Well, I'm tripping over my Quatermasses, but
it's okay. I'm learning about them, and I really liked the Quatermass Experiment a lot. That was recommended to me by a friend.
And then the third and last would be the Japanese version of the 1954 Godzilla.
Yay!
I got to tell you, that movie is so sharp. It is really something. It was such a pleasant surprise. I tell you, I was watching the American version because that's the only version I had seen, and this was back in 1989 or 1990 or something. And I was looking at my VHS, and I was watching it, And so you got the Raymond Burr scenes.
Raymond Burr, yeah.
And you have the non-Raymond Burr scenes. And I could just see in the non-Raymond Burr scenes that there was a great movie in here that kept getting interrupted. You could just really tell. And a lot of times Raymond Burr shows up and he restates what the actors already said in the Japanese. It's like, well, yes, Dr. Sarazawa, yada, yada, yada. It's like, be nice to get Raymond Burr out of there. Anyway, and I finally, years later, around 2012, I was working for VFX company in downtown, and I popped into Jungle Video and discovered that they had the Japanese versions of all these things with English subtitles.
Cool.
And so I began investing heavily, and just my romance with Godzilla was rekindled, and I got to experience them, and I was just very impressed with the Japanese version of Godzilla.
And now it's easier than ever to see, so no one has an excuse.
Adam, how can we have people, find out more about you?
Probably just the IMDb is the best way to just stalk me digitally.
Right
I'm not.
Are you on any of the socials?
I don't post much.
Yeah.
I exist.
Yeah.
I exist.
You do.
I exist on Instagram.
It isn't I post, therefore I exist. Therefore I am.
I'm not posting much of anything. I stalk, but Instagram, Facebook.
Well, people can also check out your work, and they absolutely should. Bigfoot Evidence Oregon is already out, as Adam said. Also look out for Bigfoot Southwest and Navajo Bigfoot, as well as his books, Alice in Buglyland and The Mall of Cthulhu. And I just want to thank you for being such a lovely guest on our show.
Can I just mention one more book?
Yes.
Okay. I just submitted it to Amazon. It's not available yet, but it's called The Normal Paranormal Ghost Stories. And these are collections of supernatural experiences that my friends have all had, because I know so many people. And so I collected all that I could get from folks, put it in the book, and it's not a heavy duty read. It's maybe 89 pages or so, and there are a lot of little hit and run events. And it's just a lovely thing, and it's coming out. But that's anyway, book number 3. But
right on.
That's it.
Well, this episode is sound engineered, edited, and mixed by Colin Dixon. It was produced by William Budell and Colin Dixon. Original music composed by Michael Riola. Recorded at Harkness Studios in beautiful Redondo Beach, California. If you'd like to contact us with comments, suggestions, or high praise, email us at cosmicmotionshow@gmail.com or send us a voice message at speakpipe.com/Cosmic Motion. You can find us on the socials at Cosmic Motion or Cosmic Motion Show. Emails, messages, audio, or other media you send us may be featured on the program. Thanks for joining us for this episode. We want to thank our guest, Adam Lima. I want to thank my amazingly friendly alien co-host, Colin.
Don't be afraid to keep it supernatural, folks.
We look forward to sharing more thoughts with you on the next one. Until then, keep learning, growing, and creating. Bye, folks.
Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
This podcast takes no shortcut in producing outstanding content. How they haven't become more widely recognized is beyond me.
I love this show. Smart commentary, in-depth interviews, and great production.
It's obvious how serious these guys take their podcast and bring that next level of professionalism that anyone would be hard-pressed to match.
The Projection Booth podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.